Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder, and this is BRN AM for Thursday, April 9th, 2020. And our top story today, the pandemic's impact on the financial advisory business. And joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Scott Buffington. He's the founder and chief executive officer of 401kplans.com. Scott, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you on. And before we kind of get into the nuts and bolts of our conversation, let me just check in with you. How are things going for you, for your team, for your colleagues in the industry in terms of working from home and distancing yourself?
Yeah, well, I think we're all adjusting to the best of our ability. Everyone is dealing with the same things at home. If it's questions from clients about how their plans are doing, how their investments are doing, learning how to engage remotely using Zoom and other technology and tools that are out there. And then those of us who have children at home, balancing between online or homeschooling and getting your work done. So we're all powering through and we'll get through this crazy time.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump right in. And you have had an interesting perspective, or you do have an interesting perspective, because at one time you were the head of sales for a major retirement record keeper, and you worked for several other record keepers. And now you created a startup called 401kplans.com that we'll get to in a few minutes. But I want to get your perspective as to how this environment, and meaning dealing with this epidemic, this pandemic, working remotely, how has that affected financial advisors and consultants in the space who normally would deal one-on-one with a participant or an individual or an employer?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think it reinforces the need to embrace technology as part of your service model or business model. If you're a financial advisor, or provider, an asset manager, whatever it may be, we all have to be remote. We have to be mobile. We have to have different ways to be able to communicate and conduct business. And there's no better case study for that than what we're dealing with right now. But it's an interesting time, and I think any good business person looks at every situation in front of them and tries to find some of the positive things that you could take out of this. And I think there are a lot of opportunities right now that financial advisors have that work in the retirement space, not being in the office, in being home, and maybe having less internal meetings to go to, maybe not as many meet and greets and learning about new products. And you really have an opportunity to have the capacity to talk to your clients, make sure they're okay, they have good peace of mind with the volatility in the marketplace. It's a lot of things we all like to push off, administrative things. Maybe if you're looking for a new 401k provider, you're doing due diligence on an investment to find a new investment product or a plan. Now a lot of financial advisors have the capacity to actually do that work that might have been a little tougher under normal circumstances, coming into an office every day and the regular meeting schedules that they typically have on their calendar.
I mean, you simply just can't do the same level of due diligence. It used to be you would go to a service provider, a record keeper, and actually go on site. Honestly, you can't do that. I don't see that happening for the foreseeable future. And so this virtual conversation, this virtual boardroom or meeting room now seems to be the place where a lot of that will take place. And Scott, I mean, we've been at this for almost 30 days now. We had the first 15 days, at least here in the New York area. Now we've got another 30 days. So the time we're done, it's 45 days. And I can honestly say, I don't see anybody shaking hands or voluntarily getting on an airplane if they can avoid it. Are we seeing what amounts to a significant paradigm shift going forward in terms of how we are conducting business, whether it's the investment management field, the technology field, or any other field?
I do, and I think this could really change the way we do business, or at least push it along a little more. And speaking specifically about the retirement plan business, I always like to joke around that we're the Blockbuster Video to the Netflix and other voluntary benefits, where we're still kind of in the dark ages, embracing technology for distribution and sales. And I think this could really push that a little forward. And if an advisor is going into the office every day, or they're working from home, um, the return on their time, the return on their investment, and their time is money is more important than ever. So I think people are really learning that. I think they'll embrace technology. They're going to have to embrace technology if they want to survive. Everyone's margins are squeezed. So regardless if you're working from home or an office, embracing technology and learning how to live and work remotely is going to be core to surviving in the future.
Yeah, and let's talk about 401kplans.com, because I find this fascinating. And you've been at this for several years now, putting this together, getting the technology team in place, and putting your vision in terms of how people will conduct 401k plan due diligence and searches. I mean, I wouldn't call you an oracle, but you kind of foresaw how things could change, and you really kind of jumped on and enacted it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the retirement space, and I've been in it for 27 years, distribution and due diligence really hasn't evolved much over that time period. And you look at the average retirement plan that's out there, it may be a doctor's office, 10 participants, a few $1 million in there. It is their primary savings vehicle typically for retirement. But that due diligence from a financial advisor hasn't evolved in a long time. I mean, they're still calling their home office of their broker dealer, finding out what kind of retirement providers are out there that they can work with. They may be reaching out, finding who their wholesaler is, providing information to get a quote, waiting a few days to get a quote back. They're building their own spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets today, still to kind of compare the costs and services of a plan and maybe the investments, building their own PowerPoints. I mean, these are things that we did 20 years ago, and it's still the most common way of doing due diligence, comparing different providers and products that have been happening out there. So, 401k plans being behind the times in innovation and compared to other voluntary benefits, I think the main reason for that is it's more complicated and there's more moving parts. Mm-hmm. But what we did at 401kplans.com is we've automated a prudent due diligence process, made it digital, and you can go through that 10 to 20 hour manual process down to just a few minutes, and you could do it on your desktop or you could do it on an app. And it's completely disrupting the industry. It's changing the way that due diligence can be done. And think, if you're that financial advisor who has 10, 20 clients, and you're used to spending 10 to 20 hours per client per year, and now you can do it in a few minutes on an app. I mean, that can really just change your entire business model. You could be more aggressive. You could take on more business. And we truly believe in the value of the advice that a financial advisor gives. So let's make it a little easier for them to do business and to service their clients.
And it just makes sense from a practical point of view. The record keepers, the service providers can feed information into the system, right, about their entire book of business. As somebody who has written, I mean, I know you've responded to dozens and dozens, probably hundreds and hundreds of RFPs over the course of your career. I've written, I don't know as many as you, but I have written out quite a few RFPs. It's laborious, and you can have a different set of questions per client. And some of that's necessary, right? They may have special features, but if you can get some of the more commoditized things into a central database, it just makes things easier so that you can spend your time focusing on guiding the client, from my perspective.
Sure. And our solution is really targeted to that small to mid-market type of employer or plan. They typically don't have the resources, the expertise, or the capacity to take on 401k due diligence. So what we do, which is a little unique, is we have the advisor identify what are the needs of that specific client, if it's resources, capabilities, services, whatever it may be, and we match the appropriate providers to those capabilities or to those objectives from the client. So we don't send out a questionnaire where we wait for someone to fill it out and then come back to us. Again, from a timing perspective, that takes a long time. For more sophisticated plans and certainly larger plans, that's a very important part of the process. But for the average 401k plan out there, our service really makes it so much more efficient by matching the capabilities to the appropriate record keepers that are out there, and then let them compete for the business. And it's conceptually very similar to what you see on healthcare exchanges or even hotels.com or any other kind of comparative product site or capability that's out there.
Yeah. Scott, I want to go to a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk to Scott more about 401kplans.com and also get his sense about how the pandemic may impact 401k plan sales. So stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
The windows on our homes, they protect us and the ones we love, but they do much more. At Renewal by Andersen, making your home more comfortable is at the center of every window we make. It's why we custom build our windows in America and install them in as little as 1 day. It's why we build our frames with exclusive Fibrex composite material that's 2 times stronger than vinyl. It's why our glass helps keep your home warmer in winter, cooler in summer, and quieter all year long. It's why we stand behind every window with a 20-year limited warranty. Why not help lower your energy costs while giving your home and family the best? Call 1-800-835-6525 to schedule a free in-home consultation. Buy one, get one at 40% off with this special offer. Plus, get special financing with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 1 full year. Renewal by Andersen, the better way to a better window. Call 1-800-835-6525 now.
Welcome back. We're talking to Scott Buffington. He's the founder and chief executive officer for 401kplans.com. Scott, thanks so much for sticking around with us this morning.
Great. Yeah. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great. And glad to see that you're safe and the family's safe and your colleagues are safe. So we had a great conversation in segment 1 around the impetus behind 401kplans.com. Obviously, I want to make it a little bit more macro now and talk about 401k plan sales just in general, especially during this pandemic. People were all working from home. The goal is not to be socially distant. I would imagine that being that this is a people business, right? Overall, this is a people business and the relationships matter. This has got to be a trying time if you're out there as a 401k specialist that trying to solicit business and to find opportunities for your firm.
Yeah, and there's a couple different ways of looking at it too. Where I'd say if I'm a specialist financial advisor that works with retirement plans, this may be a great opportunity to gather more clients. Those plan sponsors that do it themselves, those plan sponsors that think they could do it on their own, when there's volatility or their firm or their funds aren't producing very well, they're going to get a little nervous and they're going to realize that maybe doing it on their own when they don't have that expertise isn't in their participants' best interest. So there is that opportunity to seek quality, experienced advice and add clients if you're an experienced financial advisor working in the retirement space. I'd also say as a longtime salesperson and marketer myself, is today's a great opportunity, I think, to pick up the phone and make a lot of proactive phone calls. Typically, when you're trying to make those phone calls to a business owner to introduce yourself, there might be people screening those calls. There may be assistants out there that won't let you through. If you have the ability to call them and you have their phone number, it is going to a lot of people's cell phones now automatically who are working from home. So you might have an opportunity to look at this in a little different way and start making those proactive phone calls. I bet you a lot of financial advisors are not doing that, but if you can get access directly to people and you're one of the few people who are giving them a phone call at a time when they may be nervous and they may be looking for some guidance and advice, you can look at it opportunistically right now as well.
And case in point, you've got the CARES Act, which I think is about a week old now, that has some significant provisions related to retirement and allowing access to money, in addition to the stimulus and some other things that are for individuals or small businesses. I think there's an opportunity to provide some guidance in that regard as well. So, I mean, how can you improve your plan? And so how can you differentiate yourself as a financial professional? You can offer free advice to somebody, the resources of your organization, bring that to bear to help these companies. I mean, it's a way of giving back. And I think that goes a long way, especially during difficult times when people are ready to consider doing the due diligence, figuring out whether or not their funds are appropriate. I mean, let's be frank. The market's been down considerably, down by some estimates by 30%. Maybe it's peaked back up a little bit here or there. So maybe not all the funds are doing as well as they had been in the past. So maybe that's not something that you focus on, but maybe offering some advice about how you can structure a plan, suspending the match, not suspending the match, some design features, things that make sense. Retirement's something that is still going to be out there. You're going to need that even after we get past this short round of pain.
I would just say, you want to call when no one else is. And, so it's a great opportunity to reach out and introduce yourself, answer those questions on what's available from the stimulus package that's out there, answer questions when people are nervous. I think too many people in times like this, they default to not making calls. I think it's a great sales opportunity to make calls. But as someone who used to run a large sales force, it's also going to change. This year will be interesting. The spring is typically when you do a lot of prospecting in advance of the summer slowdown and in advance certainly of the fall, which we always call selling season, because people want to close those plans. You want to get the paperwork signed and the assets transferred by the end of the year. So it'll be interesting that when you have a pretty major impact in March, April, maybe even into May, which usually is prime selling season, prospecting season, doing your presentations, getting down there and knocking down doors, how that will impact the sales cycle. Will we have a summer slowdown? Will that sales cycle, if you want to make quota, have to bleed into the summertime? So will that impact family vacations, and will this be a normal sales year?
Scott, and you did a lot of this at some of your former companies, but stable value, guaranteed funds are still very popular in a lot of these retirement plans, whether it's 401k, 403b, governmental 457. How does some of what's happening affect those types of products? We have interest rate changes. The Fed lowered interest rates. I would suspect that will have an impact on bonds and bond yields and the makeup of some of these portfolios. Do you still see these investments and investment products still being as important? Some places garnering close to 30, 40% of the assets, even with a target date suite in the plan investment menu.
Sure. I mean, obviously, having a rebalancing strategy, I think, is core. Obviously, there's always a risk to be liquidating your equities in a time like this and moving it into stable value, even though if you have a stable value fund that offers you a guaranteed rate, it's very hard not to jump on that guaranteed rate. But I just think sticking with your asset allocation strategy, regular rebalancing over time is going to put you in the best spot. As an advisor, and certainly, Jeff, you know this as a consultant, understanding your stable value product, I think, is really important with the 10-year Treasury where it is, with the interest crediting rates, the market versus book of your individual fund if you're ever looking to change investments. Working with a very knowledgeable advisor or consultant is really important in truly understanding that stable value fund as well, because that certainly can impact if you're ever looking to change products or move providers.
Yeah. Last question, Scott. Conferences are a very important aspect to the business and really to any business, being out to meet other colleagues, other people in the retirement space, and also plan sponsors. I mean, many, you know all the events, the 401, or excuse me, the NAPAs, the P&Is, the NAGDAs. I mean, these are very important events for a lot of reasons where people can get out. Do you see this disruption even impacting conferences? We know a lot of conferences have been canceled within the next 60 to 90 days, but looking to the fall, could this be disruptive to future conferences? And where do you see that kind of falling out this year?
Well, I do. I think most of them are being pushed off into the fall. And I think because they'll be in competition, not only for space, but for people's capacity on when you think of that selling season, that a lot of business is being done in that fall. So it's already a tough time to have conferences.
Yeah.
But if there are that many more conferences going on, I think attendance is going to certainly be lower. I think the expectation for attendance should be lower than it traditionally is. And that will suffer for this year, certainly. And I think you see some great organizations out there like NAPA that has online resources and WebExes and again, just like how we're all learning how to do business remotely, a face-to-face conference, which is so valuable, may suffer. But those conferences and organizations that offer online tools that can help you with learning and prospecting and other value-added tools, those are the ones that are going to survive and thrive in an environment like this where we're all becoming a little more remote.
Yeah. Well, Scott, really appreciate you taking some time out of your day. I know you're with your family. You're in the bunker working remotely, and you've got this business to run. Take care of yourself, stay safe, and we will look to have you back on the program very soon.
You too. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a financial topic or someone of interest that you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement markets, technology, personal finance, and so much more, check out today's edition of The Morning Pulse. We're off tomorrow for the Good Friday holiday, but we'll be back on Saturday for our weekly show, BRN Weekly, where we take a look back at our hottest segments of the week. You're not going to want to miss it. So until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Attention! The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has officially authorized new benefits that Medicare Advantage plans may include. To get the benefits you deserve, you can call the Medicare Coverage Helpline.
Hi, I'm Joe Namath. If you're on Medicare, this is important information. I called the Medicare Coverage Helpline and they instantly looked up my coverage. In this one simple call, they offered to enroll me in a plan that includes rides to medical appointments, private home aides, doctors and nurses' visits by telephone, and even home-delivered meals. The plan also includes dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost.
Don't delay. Call to see if the new benefits are available in your area.
Call the number on your screen now. It's free.
Call 1-800-757-1451. That's 1-800-757-1451.